Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. So we talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Ernest Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our video. The Independence Bowl between the California Golden Bears of the Pac-12 and the Texas Tech Red Raiders of the Big 12. Both teams are 6-6, and they're duking it out in this bowl game on ESPN at 9:15. And both these teams have some interesting storylines because if you look at the opt-outs, both teams have a decent amount of players that are not playing in this bowl game. California has 6 players, and their backup quarterback, Ben Finley, he's in the transfer portal, but most of the other guys aren't too important. And for Texas Tech, they've got 5 guys that are in the portal, but Tyler Shaw, he already transferred to Louisville. That's a tough loss, but he was banged up this year, so he really wasn't even the starting quarterback for Texas Tech down the stretch. Miles Price is a good wide receiver as well in their rotation. Him being gone as well is kind of tough. So both these teams, nothing too significant. Texas Tech, I would say, is hurt a little bit more by the guys that have entered the portal and are not playing in this bowl game, but still, neither team looks like it's too significant. And if you look at the odds makers, they have Texas Tech favored by 2.5 in this matchup. To look at some of the players, though, the starting quarterback for Cal this year was Fernando Mendoza. He had 1,447 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 7 picks. He did have a few performances where he struggled. That's why Ben Finley, who is in the transfer portal, did play some this year, but Mendoza did start for the most part for Cal, and I thought he did a solid job, but does have to improve on taking care of the ball. Jay Knott's a stud in the backfield, 229 carries, 1,260 yards, and 11 touchdowns. He legitimately carried a lot of the load on offense for the Golden Bears this season. And Jeremiah Hunter at 58 receptions, 669 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Looking at the Texas Tech side of things, Behran Morton, who was the starting quarterback for the majority of the year when Tyler Shaw went down, he had 1,498 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. So very identical to Fernando Mendoza. You can see that he had some turnover issues as well, but still played solid football for the most part. But then you look at Texas Tech's running back and Taj Brooks with 268 carries, 1,443 yards, and 9 touchdowns. So both of these football teams, their bread and butter was on the ground. Taj Brooks was one of the best running backs in college football this year, had a great season, and you had Xavier White with 495 yards and a touchdown. Texas Tech, they really spread the ball around to multiple different receivers. The FPI predictor has Texas Tech favored at 59.2% to Cal's 40.8% chance of winning. So both the FBI predictor and the odds makers are on Texas Tech's side. Now, looking at Cal's season, they started out with a 58-21 win over North Texas. Then they lost to Auburn 14-10. That was a tough loss because when they lost to Auburn in a game they should have won, but their field goal kicker missed several kicks in that game. After that loss, a lot of people thought that Cal was not going to make a bowl game, but they recovered with a win over Idaho. Then they lost to Washington, which was expected. The Huskies are in the playoff. Then they beat Arizona State in a game they had to have if they were going to make a bowl, which they did win. Then they lost to Oregon State, Utah, and USC and Oregon. All those were tough losses to superior teams, but USC, they almost were able to knock off because the Trojans have that bad of a defense, but they couldn't get it done. Then they squeaked out a win over Washington State. They beat Stanford, knocked off UCLA to end the regular season in great fashion, winning that game by 26 points. And Justin Wilcox squad was able to make a bowl game, something that really is going to help him possibly save his job. A lot of people thought that Justin Wilcox was going to get fired after this season if he couldn't make a bowl game, but the Golden Bears were able to squeak out 6 wins, and if they can win this bowl game, that would make him look possibly even better. But on the Texas Tech side of things, they started out with a bad loss to Wyoming on the road. Granted, the Cowboys are tough to play in Laramie, but most people thought that after they lost that game, they were going to have a bad year. But then they hung tough with Oregon, but couldn't get the win, even though they were very close. Then they beat Tarleton State, lost to West Virginia on the road, but then they beat Houston and Baylor to get back on track. Lost to Kansas State and BYU, but then they went on a run, beating TCU, Kansas, UCF, and then they lost to Texas in the final game of the regular season to end up at 6-6, just like California. But Joey McGuire, he hasn't been at Texas Tech that long, so he has more of a leash than Justin Wilcox does, but still Texas Tech is a program that they want to win games and they want to be above 500, not just at 500, barely making bowl games. So it would definitely help out Joey McGuire if he could get this bowl win. But both these teams are 6-6. Both Fernando Mendoza of Cal and Behran Morton for Texas Tech had some struggles this year, but they both proved that they could have success leading both offenses, and both teams have fantastic running backs, and Jay Knott of Cal and Taj Brooks for Texas Tech. Me and WillND, we predict whether we think that California or Texas Tech can get that coveted 7th win, and this was a very tough game to predict because both of these teams are fairly similar on paper. Up next, we've got Cal. Texas Tech. I'm going to make this pick first, just so maybe I'll be different from you. I'm going to make this pick first. We've got Cal and Texas Tech. Both teams are 6-6. I'm going to go with Cal to beat Texas Tech. I'm going Cal. I'm going Pac-12. Give me Cal. 24-21 over Texas Tech. I could be wrong on that one, but I'm going Cal.
I was going to pick Cal. Am I still going to pick Cal?
Oh, man. What are you going to do, though? Are you going to pick different from me just because I made my pick, or are you going to do what I've been doing and just make the same pick as you did the whole time? Because, see, I don't know. Like, we just keep agreeing here. I mean, if you pick Cal, I'm good. I picked all the teams you picked already, but I just to show you that I wasn't copying you.
All right, I'll pick Cal 24-21.
All right, Cal, we're backing the Pack.
Come on,
Oski.
Come on, Oski. Come on, Oski.
Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below whether you think that the California Golden Bears or the Texas Tech Red Raiders will win the 2023 Independence Bowl, and what you think about me and WillND's pick for this bowl game. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I will see you next time.